Polish personal names, like names in most European cultures, consist of two main elements: imię, the first name, or the given name, followed by nazwisko, the last name, surname, or family name. The usage of personal names in Poland is generally governed by three major factors: civil law, church law, and tradition, in addition to personal taste and family custom. It is required by law for a given name to indicate the person's gender. Almost all Polish female names end in the vowel a, while most male names end in a consonant or a vowel other than a. There are, however, a few male names, such as Barnaba, Bonaventura, Borina, Jerima, Cosma, Cuba and Saba, which end in a. The name Maria is an exception because it is a female name which can be also used as a middle name for males. Since the High Middle Ages, Polish-sounding surnames which end with the masculine morpheme-ski suffix and the corresponding feminine suffix ska, ckA, dzka were associated with the nobility who, in the early years, preserved such suffix distinctions to themselves. They are widely popular today. Minor regional spelling differences also exist depending on whether the surname originated in Polish, Czech, or Slovak. IMIE. A child in Poland is usually given one or two names. Polish registry officers do not register more than two. Among Catholics, who form the vast majority of the population, it is customary to adopt the name of a saint as an informal, third given name at confirmation. However, this does not have any legal effect, which also involved giving the child a new name. Parents normally choose from a long list of traditional names which may come from a Christian name, i.e. a biblical name, or a saint's name, a Slavic name of pre-Christian origin. The names of Slavic saints, such as Wojciech, Stanislaw, or Kazimierz, belong to both of these groups. Slavic names used by historical Polish monarchs, e.g. Boleslaw, Lech, Mieszko, Vladislav, are common as well. Additionally, a few names of Lithuanian origin, such as Olgierd, Witolda, Danuta, are quite popular in Poland. Traditionally, the names are given at a child's baptism. Non-Christian, but traditional, Slavic names are usually accepted, but the priest may encourage parents to pick at least one Christian name. In the past, two Christian names were given to a child so that he or she had two patron saints instead of just one. At confirmation, people usually adopt yet another Christian name. However, it is never used outside church documents. In Eastern Poland, as in many other Catholic countries, people celebrate name days on the day of the patron saint. On the other hand, in Western Poland, birthdays are more popular. Today, in Eastern Poland, birthdays remain relatively intimate celebrations, as often only relatives and close friends know a person's date of birth. Name days, on the other hand, are often celebrated together with co-workers and other less intimate friends. Information about whose name is associated with a given day can be found in most Polish calendars and on the internet. The choice of a given name is largely influenced by fashion. Many parents name their child after a national hero, a heroine, or a character from a book, film, or TV show. In spite of this, a great number of popular names have been in use since the Middle Ages. Diminutives are popular in everyday usage, and are by no means reserved for children. The Polish language allows for a great deal of creativity in this field. Most diminutives are formed by adding a suffix. For male names it may be eka, the more affectionate us. For female names it may be ka, or nia, dzia, cia, respectively. Maria, a name whose standard form was once reserved to refer to the Virgin Mary, has a particularly great number of possible diminutives, which include Marysia, Mariska, Marysienka, Marikna, Mania, Manka, Maniasia, Marina, Mariana, some of which have eventually become treated as standard names of their own, while others are shared diminutives and are less popular. As in many other cultures, a person may informally use a nickname or instead of a given name. In 2009, the most popular female names in Poland were Anna, Maria, and Katarzyna. The most popular male names were Piotr, Krzysztof, and Andrzej. Nazwisko. Polish surnames, like those in most of Europe, are hereditary and generally patrilineal. A Polish marriage certificate lists 3 fields: the surnames for the husband, wife, and children. The partners may choose to retain the surnames, or both adopt the surname of either partner, or a combination of both. The children must receive either the joint surname of the surname of one of the partners. However, a married woman usually adopts her husband's name and the children usually bear the surname of the father. The wife may keep her maiden name or add her husband's surname to hers, thus creating a double-barreled name. However, if she already has a double-barreled name, she must leave one of the parts out. It is illegal to use a triple or more barreled name. It is also possible, though rare, for the husband to adopt his wife's surname or to add his wife's surname to his family name. The most widespread Polish surnames are Nowak, Kowalski, Wisniewski and Wojcik. Suffix ski, ska. Ski is a formative adjective from the Proto-Slavic sk, which defined affiliation to something. It was also used with names of territories and settlements to denote possession or place of origin. The suffix ski has been restricted to the nobility in Eastern Europe and some parts of Central Europe since the High Middle Ages. It was the equivalent to nobiliary particles appearing in the names of nobility, such as in the Germanic von zu. Almost all surnames borne by the nobility with the ski suffix are preceded by a place name or other territorial designation derived from their main court, holdings, castle, manor or estate. For example, the Polish nobleman Jan of Tarnow, whose name in Polish is Jan z Tarnow, was equally known by the name Jan Tarnowski. This highlighted his nobility, unlike the preposition of z alone, which could be construed as a regular prepositional particle. In the 19th century, a wave of seemingly noble-sounding surnames began to appear among the common population, where a significant number of the bourgeoisie class, and even the peasantry, began to adopt or bear the noble ski suffix. The ski suffix was thus attached to surnames derived from a person's occupation, characteristics, patronymic surnames, or toponymic surnames. This caused a blur between the ski-bearing territorial toponymic surnames, once a characteristic only borne by the nobility. As such, and contrary to a popular modern-day misconception, a person simply bearing the ski suffix in the family surname are merely sharing the same toponymic surname as members of Poland's nobility, does not in itself denote that person too is a member of the nobility, of noble origin, or indeed connected to the particular family. When referring to two or more members of the same family and surname, the suffix ski is replaced with the plural skich, cia, as well as skia, cie. The ski ending and its derivations are the only ones in Polish that have feminine forms, where women have the feminine version ending in ska instead. Historically, female versions of surnames were more complex, are often formed by adding the suffix ow for married women and ona for unmarried women. In most cases, this practice is now considered archaic or rustic. History, heraldry, and clan names. Family names first appeared in Poland around the 13th century and were only used by the upper social classes of society. Originally, the Polish nobility belonged to heraldic clans whose names survived in their shared coats of arms. Eventually, members of one clan would split into separate families with different surnames, usually derived from the name of the holdings or estate. Sometimes the family name and the clan name would be used together and form a double-barreled name. The most striking concept of the Polish heraldic system is that a coat of arms may originate from a single family, but come to be carried by several non-related families of the Polish szlachta. Unrelated families who have joined the nobility by heraldic adoption can share the same coat of arms, even though the coat of arms bears the surname of the family who created it. Thus, the total number of coats of arms in this system was relatively low, about 200 in the late Middle Ages. One side effect of this unique arrangement was that it became customary to refer to noblemen by both the family name and the coat of arms, clan name. For example, Jan Zamoyski herbu Jelita means Jan Zamoyski of the clan Jelita. For the 15th to the 17th century, the formula seems to copy the ancient Roman naming convention with the classic trinomina used by the patricians, pronomen, nomen gentile and cognomen, following the Renaissance fashion. Thus Jan Jelita Zamoyski, forming a double-barreled name. Later, the double-barreled name would be joined with a hyphen, Jan Jelita Zamoyski. Gradually, the use of family names spread to other social groups, the townsfolk by the end of the 17th century, then the peasantry, and finally the Jews. The process ended only in the mid-19th century. After the First and Second World Wars, some resistance fighters added the wartime noms.The to their original family names. This was yet another reason for creating double-barreled names. Examples include Edward Rydzmily, Jan Nowak Jezioransky, and Tadeusz Komorowski. Some artists, such as Tadeusz Borlenski, also added the noms to plume to the surnames. Changing the name. A person may legally change his or her given name or family name only for an important reason, including, but not limited to, the name is offensive or funny, the person has used another name for a long time, the name was unlawfully changed, or the person uses a different name as a citizen of a different country. Poles in diasporas. When Poles emigrate to countries with different languages and cultures, the often difficult spelling and pronunciation of Polish names commonly cause them to be misspelled or changed, sometimes by transliteration into, for example, Cyrillic. For example, in English, W is often changed to V and SZ to SH. Similar changes occur in French. Changes in Spanish can be even more extreme. A Spichinski may become simply Spiker, for example, where the proper translation would be Spichin. Another typical change is the loss of the gender distinction in adjectival surnames, especially visible for those ending in ski, CKI and DZKI. Western languages do not distinguish between male and female surnames, even if the language has gender-specific adjectives, as the surname is, in most cases, inherited from the father. The Western registries of birth and marriage ascribe the masculine form to the female members of the family. Slavic countries, in contrast, would use the feminine form of the surname, so the form Anna Kowalski would never be met with in Poland, whereas it is commonly found in the US, Germany or Argentina. Another change is changing the final vowel I of the endings ski, CKI and DZKI into Y. These endings are common in Czech, Slovak and Ukrainian languages, but they never occur in Polish. Classification. Based on grammatical features, Polish surnames may be divided into nominal, derived from and declined as a noun; adjectival, derived from and declined as an adjective; Adjectival names very often end in the suffixes ski, and dzki, and are considered to be either typically Polish or typical for the Polish nobility. In the case of ski, it holds true if the surname contains the name of a city, town, village or other geographical location. Based on origin, Polish family names may be generally divided into three groups: cognominal, toponymic and patronymic. Cognominal. A cognominal surname derives from a person's nickname, usually based on his profession, occupation, physical description, or character trait. Examples of cognominal surnames: Kowal, Kowalski, Kowalczyk, Kowalewski, Kowalewicz, from Kowal. Malinats, Malinowski, Malinarczyk, from Malinats. Nowak, Nowakowski, Nowicki, from Noe. Lis, Lizhevich, Lisowski, from Lis. Kolodzia, Kolodzejska, Kolodzejski, from Kolodzia. Kucha, Kucharski, from Kuchats. Toponymic surnames usually derive from the name of a village or town, or the name of a topographic feature. These names are almost always of the adjectival form. Originally they referred to the village owner. In the 19th century, however, surnames were often taken from the name of a person's town. Examples of toponymic surnames: Andrzejowski, of Andrico; Brodowski, of Brodowo; Siemielowski, of Siemielo; Tarnowski, of Tarnow; Ujazdowski, of Ujazd; Brzezinski, of Brzezinia; Zaleski, of Zalezy; Mochidlowski, of Mochidlo; Krakowski, of Kraków; Warsawski, of Warsaw; Mazurski, of Masuria. Patronymic. A patronymic surname derives from the given name of a person, and usually ends in a suffix suggesting a family relation. Examples of patronymic surnames: Janczykowicz, Janicki, Jankowski, Janowski, derived from Jan Janko word Janowo; Adamczewski, Adamczyk, Adamowski, Adamski, derived from Adam, or from Adamchev or Adamowo; Lukasinski, Lukashevich, derived from Lukash, or from Lukasin. There is also a class of surnames derived from past tense participles. These names usually have the feminine and neutral ending of the active past participle, meaning the one who has. Domagala, Pribyla, Knapirala, Dopierala, Zukalarapod-Ziadlo, Wcislo, Wlaslo, and Pribylo are examples of these names. A smaller number of surnames use the masculine form, for example, Musil. Note that in foreign countries, where the letter L is not available, L will be used instead, for example, Musil. The most popular Polish surname, Nowak, means the new one. Feminine forms. Adjectival surnames, like all Polish adjectives, have masculine and feminine forms. If a masculine surname ends in IY, its feminine equivalent ends in A. Surnames ending with consonants usually have no additional feminine form. In the past, when the masculine form ended in a consonant, the feminine surname could have been derived by adding the suffix OWA, indicating ownership. For example, Cesaria Bordwanda-Courtney, after her marriage to Janis Jedrzejewicz, was named Cesaria Bordwanda-Courtney Ehrenkreuz Jedrzejewicz-Iryła. In modern times, Jedrzejewicz may be both a masculine and a feminine surname. The feminine form is not just a common usage form, it is also the form of the surname that appears in all official records, such as birth, death and marriage certificates, identity cards, and passports. Neutral form. The neutral form may be used for neutral gender. For example, when talking about a child of the neighbors, one may say, Dmail Kowalski jest bardzo spokownnym dzieckiem, or in plural, Warzlewski Wyjeżdża Babci. Unlike the feminine form, this form is never used in official documents. It is an informal form used mostly in spoken language. Examples of feminine and neutral forms: nominal surnames may or may not change with gender. Like other Slavic languages, Polish has special feminine suffixes which were added to a woman's surname. A woman who was never married used her father's surname with the suffix ona or anka. A married woman or a widow used her husband's surname with the suffix owa or yna. Although these suffixes are still used by some people, mostly the elderly and in rural areas, they are now becoming outdated, and there is a tendency to use the same form of a nominal surname for both a man and a woman. Furthermore, the forms anka and yna are going out of fashion and being replaced by ona and owa respectively. Examples of old feminine forms: plural forms. Plural forms of surnames follow the pattern of the masculine and feminine forms, respectively, if such exist. For a married couple or a family where there is a mix of males and females, the masculine plural is used. Plural forms of names rarely follow the patterns of regular declension, even if the name is identical with a common name. Declension of adjectival surnames. The table below shows the full declension of adjectival surnames ending in ki, using the surname Kowalski as an example. Formal and informal use. Poles pay great attention to the correct way of referring to or addressing other people, depending on the level of social distance, familiarity and politeness. The differences between formal and informal language include using surnames or given names, using or not using honorific titles such as pan, pani, panstu, using the third-person singular of the second-person singular forms. Formal language: pan, pani, panstu, panem, pani of the basic honorific styles used in Polish to refer to a man or woman, respectively. In the past, these styles were reserved for hereditary nobles, and played more or less the same role as lord or sir and lady or madam in English. Since the 19th century, they have come to be used in all strata of society and may be considered equivalent to the English Mr. and Ms., or the Japanese san suffix, while nobles would be addressed Jegard, Jage, Milisk, pan, pani. There used to be a separate style, pana, applied to unmarried women, but this is now outdated and mostly replaced by pani. Panstu is widely used when referring to a married couple or even a whole family. Examples: pan Kowalski plus pani Kowalska equals panstu Kowalski. Pan Novak plus pani Novak equals panstu Novak. Titles when addressing people, scientific and other titles, are always used together with pan and pani, and the name itself is dropped. However, when a person is spoken of but not addressed directly, then both the title and the name are used and the words pan, pani are often omitted. Examples: pani professors, pan professor Powiedzil said or you have said, professor. Pani doctor Powiedzila said or you have said, doctor. But pan professor Jan Novak or professor Jan Novak or professor Novak. Pani Dr. Maria Kowalska or Dr. Maria Kowalska or Dr. Kowalska. Given name, surname order. The given name normally comes before the surname. However, in a list of people sorted alphabetically by surname, the surname usually comes first. Hence, some people may also use this order in spoken language, but this is generally considered incorrect or a throwback to the communist era when this order was sometimes heard in official situations. In many formal situations, the given name is omitted altogether. Examples: Pan Vladimir Malinowski, Pani Jadwiga Kwiatkowska. On the other hand, it is not common to refer to public figures, while not addressing them with pan or pani. This is true for politicians, artists, and athletes. Jan Kowalski BYLDZISW Gdańsku. And not Pan Jan Kowalski BYLDZISW Gdańsku. Jan Kowalski UAZA or Minister Kowalski UAZA is better than Pan Kowalski UAZA. Film reżyserowal Jan Kowalski, and not Film reżyserowal Pan Jan Kowalski. Złote medal zdobyła Anna Kowalska, and never Złote medal zdobyła Pani Anna Kowalska. In such circumstances, preceding a name with pan or pani would usually be seen as being ironical. Semi-formal levels of address. In situations of frequent contact, for example, at work, people who do not change the status from formal into familiar may remain for years at a semi-formal level, using the formal pan-pani form followed by the given name. This way of calling people is used not only when addressing them but also when referring to them to a third person with whom one remains at the same level of semi-formal contact. In a situation where two people do not have the same status, for example an employer and employee, a subordinate person is addressed by his or her given name by the superior, but the subordinate never uses the given name of the superior, using his or her title instead. The superior to a subordinate, Pani Włodzimierzu, Pani Jadwiga, a subordinate to the superior, Pani Directors, Pani Kierownik. This style is to a certain degree similar to the Vietnamese, Japanese or Icelandic usage. NB. If the superior wants to behave more politely or show his or her friendly attitude towards the subordinate, a diminutive form of the given name may be used, Pani Wlodku, Pani Jadziu. This, however, is usually not practiced when the subordinate is much older than the superior, as it may be felt by the subordinate as being overly patronized by his/her superior. It is rude to call a person by his/her surname in the presence of unknown people. In a random crowd, a person calling another person should use a form of pros pana pani, or use the semi-formal form with first name, like Pani Włodzimierzu. This comes from a general rule that one has the right to be anonymous in a crowd of unknown people. This rule is observed in most countries of Western culture. To disclose one's given name does not fall under this rule, as many people can be named Włodzimirs. For instance, semi-informal and informal language informal forms of address are normally used only by relatives, close friends and co-workers. In such situations, diminutives are generally preferred to the standard forms of given names. At an intermediate level of familiarity, a diminutive given name may be preceded by formal de pan or pani. Pan Vladek, indirect address, Pani Wlodku. Pani Jadzia, indirect address, Pani Jadziu. Using the honorific style with a surname only, if used to refer to a given person directly, is generally perceived as rude. In such case, it is more polite to use just the form pan without giving a family name. It is very rude to address someone whom one does not know well without using pan or pani, and with the second person singular instead of the polite third person singular pronouns and verb forms. Traditionally, the act of moving from this form to a friendly you must be acknowledged by both parties, and it is usually a mark of a close friendly relationship between the two people. The change can only be proposed by the older or more respected person. A similar suggestion initiated by the younger or less respected person will usually be perceived as presumptuous and arrogant. There is a clear distinction between friends and colleagues. For example, co-workers will rarely be referred to as friends, but often as colleagues. Being a colleague in Polish means that people share their time or aims to some extent. To be considered a friend, they have to feel a closer relation, such as sharing secrets, a feeling that they can depend on one another. Thus, przyjaciel in Polish has a narrower meaning than its counterpart in English. There is yet another type of relation, znajomy, which means acquaintance. This is distinct from kolega in that it implies a social, not professional, relationship. It is not uncommon to use a half-informal title with the name omitted. This is, however, usually found only in the vocative case, pani kolego, which literally means Mr. Mate.